This is Florida, a place long associated with beaches, palm trees, and vacations. For decades, it existed in the imagination as an escape, somewhere temporary, somewhere seasonal, a place you visit to take a break from reality, not a place where you build it. But over the past few years, that idea has been quietly replaced by something very different. Florida is no longer just a destination. For millions of people, it has become a decision. At first, the change wasn't obvious. It didn't happen all at once, and it didn't announce itself loudly. It showed up in small ways. More moving trucks, more out-of-state license plates, more new developments appearing where there used to be empty land. But over time, those small signals added up, and now the pattern is clear. People are moving to Florida at a scale that is reshaping the state itself. At a surface level, the reasons seem simple. Warm weather all year, access to the ocean, and a lifestyle that feels open and less restricted than in colder, denser regions of the country. Sunshine replaces long winters, and outdoor living becomes part of everyday life rather than something reserved for short periods of time. But if climate alone explained everything, this shift would have happened decades ago. What's happening now is different, and the reasons behind it are deeper. One of the most important changes is economic. Compared to cities like New York City or Los Angeles, Florida offers a different relationship between cost, space, and opportunity. Even as housing prices have increased, many people are still able to exchange smaller, more expensive living spaces in those cities for larger homes in Florida. More square footage, newer construction, and closer proximity to nature become attainable again. For many, this is not just a relocation, it is a visible shift in quality of life. Taxes also play a significant role in this equation. Florida does not have a state income tax, and over time, that difference becomes substantial. For professionals, entrepreneurs, and remote workers, this is more than a small advantage. It is a structural benefit. Income that would have been taxed elsewhere can instead be saved, invested, or used to improve daily life. Over years, even decades, this creates a meaningful financial difference that influences long-term decisions. But perhaps the most transformative factor is one that extends far beyond Florida itself: the rise of remote work. As companies began allowing employees to work from anywhere, the traditional link between where you live and where you work started to weaken. Offices became less central and location became flexible. People were no longer required to stay in high-cost urban centers simply because their jobs were based there. And once that constraint disappeared, a new question emerged. If you can live anywhere, where would you choose to be? For a growing number of people, the answer was Florida. Cities like Miami have experienced rapid transformation, attracting professionals from finance, technology, and entrepreneurship. The city has repositioned itself as more than a tourist destination. It is becoming a serious economic hub. At the same time, places like Tampa and Orlando have grown steadily, offering a mix of affordability, infrastructure, and opportunity. These cities are evolving into long-term destinations, not just alternatives. Beyond economics, there's a lifestyle shift that is harder to quantify but just as powerful. Florida offers space, not just physical space, but a sense of openness. Less density, fewer constraints, and a slower, more flexible rhythm of life. For some, this feels like freedom from the pressure and intensity of large metropolitan areas. For others, it's about balance, the ability to separate work from life in a way that feels sustainable. Outdoor living becomes part of the routine, not something that needs to be planned. At the same time, Florida is not defined by one type of person moving in. Retirees have long been part of its identity, but now they are joined by young professionals, families, entrepreneurs, and remote workers. The state is becoming more diverse, not just culturally, but economically and demographically. It's no longer a single-purpose destination. It's becoming a multi-layered environment where different lifestyles coexist. But this rapid growth is not without consequences. Housing prices have increased significantly in many areas, making affordability more complex than it once was. Infrastructure in certain regions is under strain as populations expand. Traffic, development, and urban density are beginning to reshape parts of the state. And one of the most important factors is environmental risk. Hurricanes, flooding, and rising insurance costs are not abstract concerns. They're part of everyday reality for many residents. These challenges are not hidden. They are part of the trade-offs that come with living here. And yet, despite all of this, the movement continues. Because for many people, the overall equation still works. The combination of climate, economics, flexibility, and lifestyle create a compelling alternative to traditional urban living. Even with rising costs and environmental risks, the benefits remain strong enough to drive continued migration. Florida is not just growing, it's redefining itself. What was once seen as a temporary escape is becoming a permanent choice. What was once associated with leisure is now also associated with opportunity. And what was once a place people visited is increasingly becoming a place people choose to build their future. This shift reflects something larger than Florida alone. It reflects a broader change in how people think about life, work, and location. The idea that success requires being in a specific place is starting to fade. In its place, a new model is emerging, one where people choose environments that align with how they want to live. And Florida sits at the center of that transformation. It's not perfect. It comes with risks, trade-offs, and challenges that cannot be ignored, but it offers something that many people are now prioritizing: flexibility, space, and the ability to choose a different way of living. And as long as those priorities continue to matter, the flow of people toward Florida is unlikely to slow down. Because in the end, this isn't just about one state, it's about a shift in values, a redefinition of what people want from their lives, and where they believe they can find it. But what does this actually mean in practice? It means moving to Florida isn't just about lifestyle, it's about trade-offs. People gain space, flexibility, and financial advantages, but they also face rising housing costs, climate risks, and the pressure of rapid growth. Nothing here is purely positive or purely negative. It's a balance. And that's what makes this shift so interesting. Florida isn't perfect, but for many, it offers something they can't find elsewhere: more control over how they live. Not just a place to move to, but a different way to build a life.